All right. Hello, everyone. It's Michele Maher here, and I'm here today with Samra Zafar. Thank you so much, Samra, for giving me your time to talk about the challenging times that we're going through right now and how to keep a positive mindset and while pivoting in your life or your business.
Thank you,
Thank
Michele.
you, Samra.
Be glad to be here.
Oh, thank you. And so if you want to just give us a little, little touch idea of who Samra is and what you're all about.
Wow, that's a big question. Who Samra is? There's a lot of layers to it. I'll start with why I'm sitting here and what my journey has been. So I arrived in Canada as a child bride in a forced marriage, and it was sort of like I was 16 and the rug was just pulled out from under my feet. I never really thought I'd be in that situation. I'd grown up to be a very independent thinking, passionate, ambitious girl. And as a teenager, I was always like, dreaming about going to the best university, getting the best education. And then when I was 16 years old, I was forced into marriage to this much older man who lived in this faraway country called Canada. I was in Abu Dhabi. And so at the age of 17, I arrived here as his wife and as a child bride. And I was not allowed to go to school, make friends, have any kind of independence. But there was just something in me that never, it just refused to give up on the dream of education. Like it was just this voice that always went, I want to go to school. I need to make this happen. So even during all the abuse and oppression that I faced, it was this passion for education that just refused to go away. So I started to finish my high school courses through distance learning, eventually started a daycare to save money for my first year tuition fee as a part-time student at University of Toronto, and started university after 9 years of marriage and 2 children. I was still married at the time, and I was given very strict instructions, allowed to just take one course, and told I cannot talk to anyone in class or make friends. But slowly but surely, I felt those walls crumbling, and I started making friends, I started making connections, my confidence started to go up. I started getting counseling at university and learning about what my rights were as a human being, as a Canadian, as a woman. And also that I did not want my 2 daughters to grow up thinking that being abused is okay for any reason, especially for your gender. So I decided to leave. It was a very scary time in my life. I was in my second year of undergrad, 28 years old. I had 2 children who were 9 and 3. And I just didn't know how I would go on. But I also had a little bit of hope that, you know what, if I don't give it a shot, I'll never know what could happen. I just had to take that step to figure out that, okay, I could do this. There's something there. Maybe there's some hope. Maybe there's a little tiny 0.001% chance. If I never take it, I'll never know what lies ahead. So I did, and I left, and it was a very difficult time, practically speaking. I was working multiple jobs, raising my kids, going to school full time, but hard work paid off. I got made some friends, and the U of T community really supported me. And eventually, I graduated as a top student, and that's when this whole journey started, where I was just sitting with this question that why did this happen to me? Why did I go through what I did and come out with more success than I could have imagined? And I knew that this wasn't just about me. This wasn't just my story. This is the story of millions and millions of women and girls around the world continuing to suffer in silence because they don't know a way out. And I wanted to do my part to make a difference. So I started to share my story, little events, little blogs, and over the last 7 years, it's evolved to a level where I'm doing a lot of speaking around the world, certainly a lot of it around the country, but now even internationally on a lot of mental health, gender equity, human rights topics. And I have a best-selling book. So I published my first book last year, and which is now being adapted to a TV series. And I'm working on my second book. So there's a lot of great stuff in the pipeline as well. And every day I just feel like I'm just getting started.
Right. Yeah. Well, what an accomplishment. I know I've heard your story when I heard you speak at our Grow Your Biz holiday luncheon. And what's the title of your book again?
The book is called A Good Wife, Escaping the Life I Never Chose. And the title is a play on how a good wife traditionally is supposed to be the one who stays silent and subservient and doesn't speak up and all those things. And I wanted to take that and turn it up its head. That's like I was
Not.
a good wife when I was quiet, but then, I wasn't. Um, and that's not something that women need to hear, that's the idea of a good wife, is to stay quiet and subservient and tolerate things that should never be tolerated.
No, exactly. Definitely not. So you're doing a lot of work now with, as we were saying before, we're going through something that we've never gone through before. This is very, these are very challenging times. And I know for myself, I had vendor events booked that were coming up, and of course, they were all postponed one after another. I'm sure you had keynote speaking and speaking engagements that you had coming up as well. And I just found myself really getting into that fear initially, because just everything was changing so quickly. Like the last 2 weeks of March, like March break, and then just after that, when everything kept being closed after another, it really felt like it was 6 months long or something, because
Yeah.
everything changed so much, so like every hour. So I found that just having the rug pulled out from us like that, we just had such a loss of control that some people I found to get really into that negative mode and into that fear mode, and to the point of feeling sorry for themselves.
Mhm.
But I think we've all kind of gone past that now, where we realize that this is a choice. We have a choice on how we respond to the situation. There's nothing we can do about the virus except stay safe and keep our loved ones and our families safe as well.
Absolutely, you're so right. And this is something so beyond our control. It's so unprecedented. We never could have imagined. Like, I had my entire year booked up with keynotes and so many other ones in the pipeline, and things were just, were looking so great. And I was like, yeah, I'm ready to do this full time now. And now, it's just like, it was so unexpected. And suddenly, like, the rug is pulled out
Yeah.
from under my feet. And it's like the whole year has completely vanished. Uh, my calendar is completely open. I don't have any kind of speaking lined up, and it's forcing me and all of us. I'm just using myself as a proxy, but it's
Yeah.
forcing all of us to pivot in directions that are uncomfortable, to new normals, to new realities. And whether you're a business owner, whether you're a mother, whether you are a woman, whether you're a man, whether you are a parent, it just becomes there's so many aspects and everything looks different. It's not just one thing about, like, when you go through a change in life, like maybe it's a job change, right? Or maybe it's like something else in your life. It's one aspect of your life, or that you deal with. But in this case, everything is changing simultaneously, and it's very uncomfortable. It's scary. There's a lot of uncertainty. But I think there's a lot of silver linings too, and there's a lot of comfort in the fact, knowing that we're all in this together. We're all going through this. So it's not just me who this is happening to. It's happening to my neighbor. It's happening to my friend. It's happening to everybody. And I think there's strength in unity, and there's strength in their learning and sharing. And I always talk about this idea of collective resilience. And resilience is not just about one person, an individual. I believe it's collective. And when you connect with different people in your life, who love you, accept you, embrace you for who you are, whether it's in your workplace, in your family, in your other aspects of your life, that's what really helps you believe that, yes, I can do it too. So everybody rises together when you connect with each other. And I think that's what we're seeing in the world today, right? We're all connecting. We're all looking to different ways to really help each other out. And that's what's really lifting us up as a human race. And I think we're all going to come out of it very much stronger, resilient, and valuing human experience and human connection a lot more.
Yes, yes, right, for sure. And I think there's going to be a lot of things that we will come out valuing, things that we might have taken for granted without realizing that we took them for granted before. Like having a coffee with a friend at a, a Starbucks or some other coffee shop, which we can't do now. It just, and hugs, of course, and obviously the grandparents seeing their grandchildren and seeing other family members and things like that. But we're all, like you say, we are all going through it, and the whole world is going through it, as well as it really doesn't matter what you have in terms of, you can have all the money in the world, but you still are being isolated, staying at home, like as we've seen all the musicians doing their concerts from home.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly. There's a that's what I've been doing with my business, for example, is like taking all my keynotes and building online workshops for people, for clients, for public at large, doing a lot of webinars, doing online virtual events, and a lot of them are free. In fact, all of them right now, they're not paying me anything, but that's not the point right now. Right now is a time where you really come through and serve and show up in the best way that you can. And I think it's a really good opportunity to show leadership and show that you care. And it's an opportunity really to shine as well, not just for yourself, but for others. And it's pivoting in a lot of ways, right? Even the way I show up for my children is different. I've never had at stretch like all these so many months staying home day
where
after day
you've been
after
at
day
home.
with my teenagers. And I have two daughters, they're 19 and 14, and my older daughter struggles with mental health issues. So I have to be even more vigilant and even more empathetic towards her, because her anxiety kicks up a lot higher than other people's would. So because her baseline is a lot higher. So she is, she's struggling in different ways. And I have to obviously be mindful and also understand that, yes, we need some structure, but I also need to give her the space to be able to feel how she feels, and creating that safe space for my children. And even for me as a
Yes.
survivor of abuse, it has, one of the things that has been happening, which really caught me off guard, I suddenly started having a lot of very vivid flashbacks and memories of my marriage. And I've been divorced for 10 years, and I started to think back or remember incidents from like 20 years ago when I was married, and there were moments of abuse and assault, and I just couldn't understand where it's coming from. And I talked to my psychologist, and he asked me this question. He's like, Samra, when was the last time you were isolated and told that you're not allowed to see your friends and go outside? And I said, oh my God, it was in my marriage. And he
Right.
said, well, that's so what you're feeling is absolutely normal, even though logically that these are two very different situations. That was a marriage where I was trapped, and this is my own home, and it's my condo, it's my lovely family. But the way my brain and my body is processing it, it's very similar to how what happened before, because your body and your mind has trauma memory, and that trauma memory gets triggered when you go through another trauma. And right now we are all going through a collective trauma. So that was unexpected. And so being kind to myself in the process, and when I have those moments, knowing that it's okay to take some downtime. And I'm very much a person who's always go 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 go, like that's my mo, that's how I operate. But right now it's like, okay, it's okay to take some time, it's okay to calm down, it's okay to just sit with myself and give myself that kindness and love that I give to my children or give to my friends. So that has really been a bit of a learning curve for me as well. There's just so many ways, as a parent, as a business owner, as a speaker, as an advocate, and uh, a lot of ways right now that we all are pivoting and just trying to figure it out as we go along.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And exactly what you were saying about, go, go, go. And that was a lot of us before this happened, and all the external noise has been removed from us. So you do have that chance to actually sit with yourself, and you do have to let the emotions, you have to feel the emotions. You can't just push them down or push them away. You have to let them feel. You have to feel them and let them go through you. Just don't sit with them. And this is also a time for you to look at what you were doing before, and were you happy with the way you were living your life, that kind of thing. What are your values? What are your values going forward? We'll definitely,
It's definitely
we'll see
time
what we.
it's a time to do a lot of fine tuning of
Yes.
life. Uh, I have had a lot of time over the past couple of months to reflect on where my life is headed. I've made some decisions from a career standpoint. I've always been fascinated and very deeply passionate about mental health, and even more so now that my daughter has gone through her journey, and as I've supported her through that, and I see how many gaps there exist out there in terms of parents having the skills to help their children through these things, and there's so many knowledge gaps, and that's where I really want to help. And that's something, that's an online course I'm building, is to help parents develop the skills that they need uh, to show up for their children in a more empathetic way, and go from problem solving to holding space. Like, that's what your youth needs, especially when they're teenagers or going through any kind of mental health issues. And I learned that the hard way going through the journey with my daughter. So that's what I'm now hoping to help people with and help other parents with, because that can really be a big difference. And because I had the resources and the capacity to be able to learn all those things by putting myself into therapy, going through training programs, etc. What 2 years ago, my daughter, I thought she would never even finish high school, and now she's about to go to university, and she's a happy kid. It's not perfect, but she's out of that phase where she was trying to kill herself. So that's one thing I'm working on, and just knowing that, okay, this is what I'm really passionate about. That's the area that I want to grow in. That's the area that I want to work in. So I'm becoming very conscious about pivoting my career in that direction as well. My full-time career. So whether that's going back to school, whether that's looking in the corporate world for that kind of opportunity, but that's really where I want to be, and I've become very clear on that. Instead of just doing things because, yeah, this is what is coming my way, I'll keep doing it. Being more deliberate about what you want to do. There's also a lot of, one thing that's happened through this pandemic is that a lot of learning has opened up. Like, there is no shortage of courses that you can do online for very little or no money.
Right.
And you can learn all kinds of skills. So I highly recommend signing up for Coursera, and I have a membership, and I have enrolled myself into several courses, a video editing course because I'm creating more social media content. I just signed up for a podcast course. That was a paid course. It wasn't through Coursera, but I really liked the way she teaches, and I signed up how to launch your own podcast because I want to be able to launch my own podcast soon. I also I'm taking some courses on positive psychology and resilience and mindfulness, because those are the kinds of things I want to be able to teach later on to my clients. So it's really a time to do things. It's a very forgiving time to experiment as well. And whether you have been thinking about launching a podcast, or you've been thinking about growing your social media following, or learning about a new business or a skill, this is the time to do it. And I know it's hard, but with that being said, I will say that it's not, don't push yourself though.
Yes. Right.
There's also a lot of damaging motivational pressure that people put on themselves. In fact, there was this tweet going around that if you don't come out of this pandemic with some kind of a new skill, or the best body that you've ever had, et cetera, that you never lacked time, you lack discipline. And I think that's just a load of crap, because this isn't just a normal time and you're taking a staycation and you can do all these things, right? This is
right.
trauma that we're going through. It's affecting us on a mental and emotional level. So be kind to yourself and do what you can, and applaud yourself for even doing that. But if you want to, if you really are motivated, this is the time to learn new things and just try new things. it's a good time to experiment with all of that, right? So,
Yes,
uh,
it
so
is. Right.
yeah, just be with yourself and reevaluate. What does my life look like? What do I want and not want in my life? I mean, this time shows us more than anything that life is short. Life is unexpected. Like we could have everything planned out, but
Yeah. And then it's just
what
taken
would hit
away.
us, right? We don't
Right.
know what would hit us and completely throw us off course. And you have to then design a new path and a new plan. So plans are great, but you also need to be very flexible and adaptable. And and right now is a time to really be flexible and pivot in all kinds of different directions.
Yes, yes, it is. And like you say, there is some pressure. You can feel some pressure that, to do, and learn. But
No,
this is a highly emotional time.
and
And
you have
like
to
you were
be
saying,
kind to
you know,
yourself.
we don't know what kind of, anybody who has mental health issue is going to have those triggers like you had. Um, Anybody in an abusive relationship, you're now isolated with your abuser. Like
That's something that I
very
have taken
scary.
that's something that I've taken up because it's been giving me sleepless nights and all the
Yes.
reports you see in the media about how domestic violence is on the rise during the pandemic. So I've started a weekly support group on Zoom, and then I also stream it live on my Facebook page and then put the recordings up on YouTube on different aspects of domestic violence, just to spread knowledge, to be able to share resources, bring experts in to interview them about different things like family law, domestic violence law, safety planning, etc. And that has really been very helpful for people, and I'm getting a lot of great feedback. And that's also helping me feel that okay, even though yes, I am having those moments where I'm not feeling at my very best, but I also know that it also gives me an insight. Like I'm out of it, and putting myself back in the shoes of like how it would be if I was still in that marriage. It's just terrifying.
Right.
And I understand, even in my own marriage, whenever there were times of crisis or financial stress, the abuse would always escalate because I would become his proverbial punching bag. And right now is a time to really show for the community to show up, because these are victims in their homes who do not have access to the regular support systems that they normally would have. Maybe they're not able to go to work. They're not able to meet their friend for coffee. They're not able to go for counseling sessions. They're not
Right.
able to see their lawyer or get information or go to school or even be able to pick up the phone and call a helpline because their abuser's always there, right? So it's a very scary time for a lot of women. And we hear, oh, stay home, stay safe, but what if home is not safe? What do you do, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that is something that's really been on my mind a lot, and I've been doing whatever I can in my little way to host free webinars and videos and whatnot to help impart that knowledge and just build a little support community and give women the resources and the knowledge, because knowledge is power. And giving them hope that pandemic or not, abuse should never be tolerated, and there are options and there are people who are out there to help you.
Right. Yes. Yes. And yeah, I feel, yeah, that's great that you are doing that support group, because there's a lot of people out there and I cannot imagine what they are going through in these times. Yeah. So like you said before, this is really a time of service. And I've seen that across the board from so many perspectives, whether it's people putting on webinars, courses for free, community groups, networking groups going online, coming together, brainstorming, then even just communities, going grocery shopping for the elderly, or people in their condo or their community, their neighborhood who needs groceries. It's I think there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of community, and I think that we are really coming together as a global community too, the whole world, as we
Absolutely.
are, in our houses isolated. Yeah, it's great that we have this technology so we can come together and
I'm lucky. I think that's just the way everyone's coming together from all parts of the world, and I love traveling, and that's one of the things that I really really miss right now is being able to travel. And but one of the things traveling has done for me is I've made friends all over the world because of my trips and things that I've done. So I had people reaching out from all corners of the world just wanting to catch up and jump on Zoom and have a chat. And that's, we're so lucky to have the ability to do that,
yes,
right? So I think it's also a time of being grateful for the things you can do and the things that are in our control. Uh,
yes, definitely. Gratitude is a huge part of everything right now. We have to be grateful for what we do have and looking forward to the future. Like I say, I think we're gonna be. This is going to bring out the compassion in humans, and we're going to be more compassionate, more community focused, wanting to serve and help others.
yeah,
That's how I feel.
lots of silver linings I see.
Yes. So thank you so much, Samra, for your time today to talk about it. Underneath this interview, I will put your details for the weekly support group that you have, as well as
All the information, all the details are on my
yes.
website. It's just my name, so www.samrazafar.com.
Okay. All right. Great. So thank you so much, Samra, and we will get out of this together. And I look forward to when we can see each other in person again.
We absolutely will. Take
Yeah.
care.
All right. Thank you, Samra, and bye, everybody.